Rent Money. Today's episode is for all you at home, all you listeners out there. Whether you believe it or not, I hear running back Jones think that you do have the grit to play offensive line in a backyard football game this upcoming week, in a fall backyard football game. Not everyone on this podcast may have that grit. Looking at Texas Pete, he's here with us today. He's going to have to go out on the gridiron and prove it. And then Old Chisholm, who some may say was born to operate on the line. We're going to get into all that and more on today's episode, including, the usual rundown, a little recap of last week, get excited about the upcoming week, and then dive deep into Heisman season. It's Heisman season. We're each going to make a case for a contender, and that's going to be kind of our guy that we ride with for the rest of the season. So a lot to be determined there in that kind of portion of the episode. But before we get to it, today's presenting sponsor is Red Stripe. When the storm comes, Jamaica stands strong. Hurricane Melissa may have shaken the trees, but not the spirit of the Jamaican people. Red Stripe is raising a toast to everyone rebuilding, helping neighbors, and keeping the island irene no matter the weather, because resilience runs deeper than rain. So whether you're cleaning up, checking in, or just catching a little sunshine in between the clouds, well, sunshine goes around for everyone. Grab a Red Stripe, cool your nerves, and remember, together we weather any storm. Red Stripe for the journey. Please drink responsibly. Everyone here at Rent Money is thinking about those in the Caribbean, those impacted by Hurricane Melissa. Couldn't have been a better time to pull out our Red Stripe ad. I went down to the Jewel Osco here, the neighborhood grocery store by me today. No Red Stripe present. Maybe 10, 15 years ago, I felt like Red Stripe was a staple. We're here at Rent Money to bring back Red Stripes. They got a cool glass, and they taste crispy and frosty, and they bring you that island vibe every time I crack one open. So, like they said, together we can weather any storm with Red Stripe for the journey. Woo! Bomba clot. All right, let's do this. We got a big episode today. Old Chisholm said he's going to bring the muscle. He is feeling stronger than ever. That's why he was built for the line. I think he just threw a little chaw guy in too, so that's how you know the Chiz Dog's back and ready in action. Adam, why are you feeling so confident about the slate this weekend? What's gotten into you?
The gales of November, run it back, Jones. The gales of November. They have not blown early. They're right on time. We're coming into Hollow Weekend, All Saints Day coming up for those that celebrate. I will be in attendance. I think November is just when the rubber hits the road, like for real. Like I think leading up to this point is like, okay, how do the teams look? How do they look in conference play? And now it's okay. We're starting to get to the bottom of that funnel. We're really getting a good look at, who the future Heisman could be, who the teams that are going to be in and out of the playoff are going to be. I'm throwing an extra one in just for shits and gigs. I'm fired up. You're fired up. He, she, we fired up. Firing up the study of fire. All of those things extremely relevant here today. And that's why we're out here just chucking disc.
We're just chucking disc all day long. No free ads. But this is a guy maybe we'll get to later on in the episode when the Heisman comes around. But if you open up ESPN.com right now, it's kind of part of the routine. You hit the message boards, you hit ESPN.com, you try and get an understanding of the lay of the land. The number one featured article on ESPN right now is this, and you guys are going to be excited. How Haynes King became Georgia Tech's unstoppable force. Toughest player I've ever seen, the legend of Haynes King. I mean, the Haynes King train is rolling. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are rolling. That's just kind of what you mean. The rubber is meeting the road. And now it's that time of the season where people that, the real football heads, the leather heads, have been getting excited about all year. Now it's time for the national media and the national audience to start grasping, what has been taking place earlier in the season. You do have these Cinderella stories. You do have these players that are Chisholm personified popping out. So you're right. It's a great time of the season. We even got football going on right now as we speak on a Wednesday night. We're yeah, we're fired up. Texas Pete, you bringing the grit today?
Absolutely. Gritty enough to play the interior offensive line, some would say. But to your point, exactly, we're nearing, what are we, in the final third of the season right now? So you're at a point where if you're really into college football and you like, storylines, you like, I guess, scoping out exactly what can unfold throughout the season, it's narrowed enough now where you can pin in and schedule watch and be like, if we can win this one, and this one, and they lose here and they lose here, we can find ourselves in a conference championship game. So that just adds a little bit extra juice when you're going through your regular, college football routine. You're watching games a little bit closer than you typically would if you're pulling for a specific team to make a conference championship or, get bowl or playoff eligibility, bowl eligibility and stuff like that. So it's a fun time, but this is where you really got to kick it into gear because teams and programs and players are playing for something much more than, just a regular season game.
100%. I think that leads us right into, national podcast here at Rent Money, but our heart is in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes blew the doors off Minnesota. And when Texas Pete starts to talk, hey, this thing breaks here, this thing breaks there, us Iowa fans, I think we're starting to see a path. It's not going to be an easy path. The path has the Ducks coming into town. They still have to go on the road to the Trojans. Tricky, rivalry matchup with Nebraska later this season as well. But with the way the Hawkeyes have been playing, there is a path that you can see them making, especially with the DBs coming into fold. I mean, Lutmer, Ettringer, they're just laying the wood. We were talking about it over the weekend. Like, Phil Parker is just such a mastermind because the last 3 seasons, the defense funnels everything to the middle linebackers, right? You had certified Big J Higgins in there, and then you had Jack Campbell, right? Like 2 All-Americans. That's where we're going to funnel in the offense. Now we're just funneling in to these secondary, the DBs, and they're just coming up making tackles all over the place. And Wampa as well. Chisholm's rocking his Mickey's Iowa sweatshirt right there. That's a good-looking sweatshirt, Chisholm. You were in Iowa City, but not at the game. Is that right? Just what were the fall vibes there? How was your weekend in the city?
Yeah, dude, got to tailgate, which I don't get to do that every
Maybe
day.
More.
Yeah, exactly. It took the wind right out of my sails going into a 4:00 wedding that was also outdoors. Granted, it was
out of your sails?
Quick. Yes, I was exhausted getting to this wedding.
Okay.
If I could have continued, the trajectory that I was on, different story. But a quick 20-minute cat nap on the couch, we were right back at it. Kind of one of those dazed and confused when you wake up from it. But just to be on Melrose Ave, to walk up and down that street, seeing the kids chucking the pigskin around, not as much disc chucking as I would have liked to see, but pigskin nonetheless. I don't know, the students aren't as excited as I feel like I recall.
Really?
Not sure if that's what the campus just looks like after losing to Iowa State. We obviously never experienced that, while we were attending university. But it makes you wonder. Did the students give up? Are the kids not all right?
What night were you out?
I can say, we didn't go out after Thursday. We were up and at it. We were at the reception and
so
whatnot
you were out
on Saturday.
On the town on Thursday night?
Yeah, Thursday we were at Brothers. Felt disturbingly old. I was like, if I talk to any of these kids, I feel like I'm going to jail just because they all look 15. But I guess that's just what happens when you leave the old stomping grounds for a few years. You come back, you look around, and you're like, what the hell's going on? What the hell are they putting in this shit? All right.
Dude, oh my God. I don't even know what to say. This is like the funniest thing looking back at it. When Texas Pete and I were in the city, I think I had one conversation with a college person. Wasn't really a one-on-one. There was somehow kind of like some group like blending in to try and tight bar, only a couple tables to, be able to set your drink down. We probably had a 4-minute chat. In that 4-minute chat, the only things I got, this is all I got. Her dad just got diagnosed with cancer. Said, oh my God, that's horrible. I'm sorry to hear that. She goes, I don't really care. He's on his 3rd wife and he's an alcoholic. So he's been asking for it. And I go, oh my God, that's just really tough to hear. She goes, but he is my dad, so I feel like I need to forgive him. I'm like, this is a lot heavier than I was expecting this conversation to go and to be, but I really hope that you and your dad are able to mend your differences and move on. Those are the kind of, Yu-Gi-Oh trap cards that are just running around Iowa City. But holy cow, that's like that conversation will stick with me forever. Pretty drunk, didn't really know how that came up or where that was going, but just trying to be supportive.
Dude, they just love to get shit
that
off their chest.
Oh man, that was something else. But no, I'm glad you had fun in Iowa City. Any other thoughts? I mean, the Hawks are rolling. Offensive touchdown, defensive touchdown, special teams touchdown. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. The Floyd Rosedale's back in the city, or remains in the city, I guess.
I would not want to play against Iowa as a Big Ten opponent, seeing all three facets of the game kind of in stride right now. That's not something we're used to seeing at all. Typically, we win games by having 2 out of the 3. We dominantly win games when we have all 3. So I think that was on full display on Saturday.
100%. Well, let's just transition into the upcoming opponent, which is next week. We'll get to it. But Oregon hosted Wisconsin this weekend. They had the unbelievable Grateful Dead and Company jerseys. I mean, that was pretty sweet display there with the jerseys and the way they did their campus store. They even changed. I love it when a program doesn't half-ass a collaboration, right? Like, you can't just build all this hype and then drop the ball. And I think they succeeded and delivered on what the people wanted to see. I wish I was an Oregon fan. I would have loved to cop some of that merch. Not an Oregon fan, so we're just going to have to settle and continue to settle for the classic tie-dye Grateful Dead t-shirts we already got in the closet. But Texas Pete, what did you think about this game? Oregon, once again, not really blowing the doors off teams. Kind of a bit of a slog.
It was a slop fest last week for sure, but what really caught our eye, and we were calling it out on the pod last week, it was ringing through the group chats on Saturday morning. Highly contentious pick, but Oregon at this point hasn't scored a touchdown in over 11 quarters going into this game. Wisco hasn't scored a touchdown over 11 quarters going into this game. Scoreless for 2 straight games as is. So there was a fun prop bet being floated around for Wisconsin not to score a touchdown at 2-1 odds. And you better believe we were all over it. Previous week, Wisconsin mushed a parlay for the crew. That's okay. We're going to get you. We're going to get back at you. You're not going to score a single fucking point. It was a slop fest during the game. Oregon was somehow keeping a minute, which really made me nervous. But in the fourth quarter, Wisconsin eventually broke one, got it down to the 1-yard line, and ultimately punched it in to kill us in, I guess you could call it garbage time, but not really, because it was only a 21-7 game. But Wisconsin back on the board. Fickle's job is once again safe. He's off the hot seat. He scored a touchdown, so we can all move on with our lives.
Third, 14. They haven't even threatened scoring a touchdown. I thought they might settle for some, pity points and take the field goal. Plus 200 to not score a touchdown, and they end up hitting 3rd and 13. He drops back 15 yards and throws up a Hail Mary type pass. And wow. That's a bet I will bet 100 times in a row, because the rush that I had and the deflation of that play, you don't get that a lot in 21-0 games, especially when you're not betting the spread. But hey, Oregon looks gettable.
They do.
They look gettable, and we'll preview that game next week, I'm sure. We'll see what time slot that ends up at, whether it's high noon or the 2:30, or they somehow flex another night game. I think Iowa's kind of hit their quota in terms of night games. I'm not really sure how all that scheduling works, but it would have to be an exception made to go back to a night game at Kinnick. So we'll see. We'll see what plays out there. But Oregon, Iowa, we'll preview it next week. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Ole Miss won 34-26. Yeah, I mean, this was a good game, and another one where, hey, holy shit. We'll see how it breaks out the rest of the season, but OU could possibly be looking for a head coach too, depending on how far they slide. Watching this game, Mateer, we want Mateer to be the man, but sometimes he's just trying to take on too much and not always taking the easy completion. So, I don't know. Any quick thoughts on that game?
The only thing is with Coach Kiffin being floated around to take the LSU job, which just recently opened up, as I'm sure we'll get to. Handful of other high quality jobs out there in Florida, right? Probably just bought himself another $5 million in his contract with this win. Ole Miss is, what are they, 7-1 now? 7-1. What are they in the rankings? 7th in the AP poll. Looking
schedule's
phenomenal. Probably just put a little bit of extra coin in his pocket. And yeah, easy schedule going forward. South Carolina, Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State left. So
it's hard to imagine them not making
Lane.
the playoffs. They could drop one of those and still make the playoffs with 2 losses, most likely. So BYU at Iowa State. Some of the listeners have been in my mentions and said I sometimes sound a little too happy, I guess, when the Clones lose. So we're going to try and avoid that. I am a little Cyclone. People forget, but BYU 41, Iowa State 27. Wow, what a game. This was a lot of fun to watch. I had this one on the side screen going there. Iowa State was up 14. They were rolling, looking so good. But no, BYU football, that's just what they do. They're going to grind you out. They're going to make you play 4 quarters, and they flip the script in the second half.
Like, what can you even say about Iowa State football other than let's hope Campbell sticks around?
Yeah, I mean, there's some tempting offers coming up here, whether it's Wisco or Nebraska. Like, those are 2 programs that, I mean, Penn State, I think, too. Maybe that's not their first offer. But I think if Rule goes to Penn State, as, is highly reported, I don't fully understand that hire. Hasn't really done anything in college football or the NFL over the last 6 or 7 years, but it's besides the point. I mean, Nebraska and Wisconsin are just kind of like good fits. If he were, I don't think he's going to look elsewhere, but if you are trying to make that leap from the Big 12 to the Big 10, where, you're going to have more of a steady income stream, those are 2 programs that kind of fit the mold of what I think Campbell would look for, but I don't think he's going anywhere, Chisholm.
I mean, I would hope not. Like, it seems like he's a guy that wants to just have his brand. I don't know if this is just a sign of being like a good coach and knowing, hey, like, I can't really replicate this, right? Iowa State, Iowa, these are 2 pretty niche schools that you would have to recruit for in the Midwest. They're never going to be, and maybe, they will be, but like typically these aren't the top choices you're looking at when it comes to going to school in a region, especially even within the conferences they play in. I guess Iowa State is kind of becoming more of a top dog within the Big 12 from a program standpoint. But I mean, you see it this year, like without the depth and the injuries that start stacking up, you really like you're just kind of fucked at this point. Like, you have to almost build NFL like rosters when it comes to having depth at positions. And that's when it's like, can Iowa State can you do that at Iowa State? I don't know.
Yeah, they're definitely hurting, right?
At an LSU, at other schools that are getting more funding and things of that nature. I think it's beyond reasonable if you have a good staff and you recruit properly and you use the portal the way that you should. But I'll be curious. I don't really want to spend too much time on this team. They're kind of, it's like beating a dead horse, and it's not fair to Iowa State. They're a basketball school, right?
Yeah, I mean, huge win for BYU. That was a trap game and one where they 100%. Weren't even. They were they favored by 2.5 points or
they
not?
were dogs.
Yeah, it was a trap.
I mean, that was a big win by them, and now they're in the pole position there. I will say, like Noel and Higgins being gone, I wouldn't say exposed Rocco Breck at all, but like it's obviously put up more of the ceiling's much lower on this offense without 2 NFL caliber wide receivers. Like, that just makes sense. That's going to be hard to replace for any program. Michigan State, I mean, not a lot to say here, but a backdoor cover by Michigan State. Texas Pete was pretty upset about that one, but I didn't watch this game.
Other way around.
Very happy about that.
Chisholm and I were on the 2 touchdown home dogs all over it.
That's right.
Was looking miserable the entire game.
It says
Garbage time
LFG.
TV, 7 seconds left. Yeah.
Missed that one in the production meeting. My bad, fellas.
It's all right, man.
Real quick, I mean, we already called him out. Maybe we'll talk about him a little bit more. Haynes King and GT continue to roll 41-16. We all will remember this game for years to come as the one that could have been without Syracuse missing their sweet Angeli. It's a damn shame. This could have been the game of the year for rent money. We'll never get it back, and we only can hope that we find guys we love as much as these 2 in the future that get a square off in an ACC or Big 12 or Mountain West or some under-the-radar bout. All right, here's kind of the game and discussion we are going to have quickly. A&M at LSU. A&M, this is the nightcap. This is LSU down there. Just like night games are supposed to mean more, and they have the fireworks, they have the production. We all seen like a slow-mo video of Joe Burrow running out, which still hits. I mean, it's fucking hard. And this was kind of like Custer's last stand, right? Like this was LSU, Brian Kelly back against the wall.
Yeah.
The one they were supposed to kind of hold strong and take down a top 5 team in A&M. Obviously, it went the other way, and A&M imposed their will the entire second half, like just babied them. And now we're here sitting today on 10-29-25, and we do not know who the head coach of LSU will be in 2026. Brian Kelly, out.
It's a long time coming. Like, he's done nothing since he showed up to that campus. Like, what's his biggest achievement in 4 years?
Player safety, employee safety.
I'll believe it when I see it. Declan Sullivan, say his name. RIP.
Yeah, I saw a picture of the guy. I mean, Declan, rest in peace, on social media. So I'm glad to see that people are continuing to say his name and and make people aware of that tragedy. So it's good. I will
say, turns out his family does not want people saying his name, which makes me have a lot of questions for his family. The buyout they got must have been massive to the point where they're like, no, it's okay, guys. Don't talk about him. The more that I get into it is here nor there. I mean, under the table, they got something, dude. It's a Catholic institution. Nobody's better in the world at getting something done under the table.
Fair. I think I agree with Mr. Jones. Fair. I think I was reading an article that was the family didn't want to settle, got offered a settlement, didn't want to settle, but ultimately closed the book.
You know what? I'm going to take another stance. I mean, I'll always respect the parents' wishes, whatever. But just being like, hey, Brian Kelly, like saying Brian Kelly, we're on the forefront of say his name here. So I'm going to defend us and the podcast when I say that, Brian Kelly should be continued to be held accountable. Like, we shouldn't just brush under the rug. We shouldn't just say, hey, it's all okay. The loss of life is tragic. And I think that it's okay for us to say his name and, continue to push awareness and safety for all the people that are involved in every college football program that maybe go underlooked and underrecognized by a coach or a group of coaches or El Presidente. And they, their lives and their health and safety matter just as much as the players. We're all people here, and I will continue to say his name. We'll see where Brian Kelly's next job is. Do either of you guys have any opinions on that or where that's going? I mean, the buyout was huge.
The buyout got shrunk down, I saw.
Yeah, what was up with that?
I don't know if that was real. It could have been just like fake Barstool bullshit. But it was something about how like he broke a clause in his contract because he was spending too much time golfing, supposedly. Granted, none of this is fact checked, but it's 100% believable at the same time that he was
$54 million
putting in like 3 to 4 rounds a week at the local country club. I'm pretty sure it's a joke because I saw that his average was about a 95, which seems just made up. That's not like you would include a handicap, not an average. So I'm assuming that that's just not a real post, but it's fun to think about. If he's getting a full payout, it's the second largest ever behind Jimbo. Like,
yeah, that was, I think, getting debunked. But how do you guys feel about Jeff Landry, the governor of LSU, kind of being involved and putting his hand in the cookie jar when it came to this firing? I've never seen anything like it.
What do you mean by the governor of LSU? Is this actually
the governor of Louisiana? The governor of Louisiana. He's
really?
He thinks he must think he's a South Carolina Gamecock, the way he's parading around trying to, curry up favor, the way he's saying, oh, I, put a call in and made sure that, Brian Kelly was gone tomorrow because we do not accept the standard of losing in the great state of Louisiana. And on top of that, he's doing press conferences saying that the AD is not going to be in charge of hiring the next coach, that he has more say in who gets to hire the next coach because this AD is on the hook for $54 million and he doesn't deserve another look at head coach because he already fucked the pooch on the first one. He even went as far not to get political, but he said, I don't know who's going to decide it. Maybe Trump will he's hardcore Louisiana Republican. Maybe Trump will pick him. Trump's a fan of winners. Trump could probably pick a great head coach for this program. Like, what are we like? I don't know. It's just a little bit too much to me when political grandstanding gets involved with my college athletics.
Hear me out.
Yes. Go ahead.
All I'm saying is the state of Louisiana is ranked 46th in education, 50th in crime and corrections, 50th in the economy, 46th in fiscal stability, and 44th in overall health care. The voters obviously don't give a fuck about any of these things. They care about, are the Tigers going out and winning ball games? And I think Jeff Landry might have just found the greatest loophole for any politician in a state ever, because other than the city of New Orleans and the professional sports teams there is not fucking shit to achieve revenue from in the state.
I mean, New Orleans is wasting away. I mean, it's a bowl. It's gonna be. It's continuing. I mean, to erode, right? As it's just whatever.
So one thing I do commend Governor Landry on. Did he take it too far? Yeah, probably. But from just like a pure political, like PR standpoint, his opening comment that Mr. Jones mentioned, just being like, I had a hand in the firing of this coach that everybody hates because we don't accept losers in the state of Louisiana. If he just left it there, that would probably be enough to sway a good amount of the votes in his favor. Just being like, if you're not, like kind of agnostic politically and you just hear, like, if I just saw that, like, you know what? Yes, fuck yeah, voting for him type thing.
Yeah, here's where I just I don't think that this fucking career politician knows jack shit about football or hiring a quarterback.
Correct,
he's just looking for the, not a quarterback, but a coach. He's just looking for a soundbite. Reminds me a lot of when the new owner comes into professional sports and they immediately mortgage the future to go and trade for a superstar. I look at the Phoenix Suns, trading for Durant and giving up a lot of their flexibility. It's just a new owner syndrome. It's been detailed throughout professional sports. The Carolina Panthers are dealing with it right now. Whatever that guy's Tepper. He's a dipshit. And so this guy, the AD, the reason he's calling out the AD is because he hired Jimbo Fisher at Texas A&M. That was a big buyout. He hired Brian Kelly at LSU. Ever. Those are two big buyouts, right?
That's two biggest ever. It's over $100 million purely in just firing people.
And here's where I will actually back up the AD. Is that when you make hires like that at a school like Texas A&M, at a school like LSU, the hires are going through such rigorous amounts of say and influence from the boosters. Ultimately, when you're at a school like A&M or at a school like LSU, most of the hiring is going to be going through, hey, who's putting up the money for the buyout that we're doing currently to get this coach in, the bonus we're going to pay him when he signs on the dotted line, and then the contract we're going to give him. During both those cycles, I mean, those were both applauded as good hires. Jimbo was the biggest get in the cycle. Brian Kelly was probably one of the fit was weird, but people thought he was going to be successful there. I mean, it hasn't worked out, but these aren't just things that he's deciding to do willy-nilly. The AD is kind of in these situations told, hey, who do we want to get and how can you go get him? And that's kind of where his position rolls. I think at Iowa, Beth Gertz, that's different. She's doing more of a system fit. She's thinking about the university. She's not signing some guy that's the biggest probably guy in the cycle that's going to get paid a shit ton. The AD is at that point kind of just doing what he's told to do. Hey, we wanted to go get Brian Kelly because he's consistent winner. Go get him. All right, well, here's what we're going to have to fucking pony up. So I think he's just kind of getting scapegoated a little bit in that sense.
That's kind of the role of being an AD or a figurehead like that as well, too, though.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's why they pay them the big bucks. So if if shit hits the fan or something like that, they have a person they can point to and, effectively restart or whatever you want to call it.
At that point, just fire the AD and get a new guy in there, I guess, if you're going to just castrate him
Clean house.
Publicly.
That's the next step.
I think
AD should go down. I was going to say AD should go down with the shit.
I think that at this point, with the way college football is going and the amount of money that is involved, there should be an athletic director for the university, and then there should be a separate person that's like football president and operations. Like they should be two different roles. LSU's been super successful as a whole, like athletically, as a
in other sports, yeah.
Yeah, and they're consistent in baseball. They're good at. They won baseball this year. They're good at like, basketball. They're all right. Like women's basketball won a championship recently. I mean, I would be stoked if Iowa had won a women's basketball championship.
One of them.
Yeah, one of them. So I'm just saying, like, those should almost be considered two separate jobs because the health of your entire. They should work together, obviously, because a lot of your health of your athletic program is based off the revenue your football program brings in. But besides the point, either way, probably went too far off topic there on the Kelly's or the LSU intricacies of it all. But
yeah,
Chisholm, maybe wrap it up on the Kelly because you're more familiar with this guy than anybody.
I think Kelly could be a great fit for like a non-football, like he's not coaching, but he could be running what's happening behind the scenes, like allocating funds, doing whatever. Like he's been able to get recruiting and good talent and shit like that. And he makes a lot of excuses for himself, but like he does do that well. He's just not a good coach. And I think it's exactly to the point you're saying. Every other sport in college athletics suffers because of how much more money football is going to generate than every other sport combined, with the exception of certain schools in basketball. And granted, that's typically men's basketball, but like female collegiate athletics are actually on the rise for the first time in a long time. They need support. They need love. They need funding. They need all of these things too. It's insane that they're having to compete with a literal hegemon in college football to the point where the media broadcasting deals, the NCAA having its hand in everything, the Wild West that is NIL, like football should be almost separate. Like there needs to be a separation of football from other athletics in the way that it's done, in the way that it's run. And I think it could almost be a guinea pig for other sports as they continue to gain popularity in the future. Because what you're seeing right now is it's actually absurd. Like you're seeing schools have to cut sports just to allocate more funds to their football or basketball program. That doesn't make any sense. Let the kids play. But Brian Kelly should not be playing. He should be in a behind the scenes role somewhere.
I agree, Chisholm. There's $168 million already owed in buyout money in college football right now to fired coaches. That number is going to grow as the season continues. But imagine what like $50 million could do for all the sports programs at the University of LSU that aren't men's basketball and football. Like $50 million could go a long, long way for all those programs.
What's the women's field hockey team getting nowadays?
Hey, I'm somebody that has a little bit of fucking pride, every 4 years when the Olympics come around and USA dominates the Summer Olympics. Most of those sports are not revenue generators at the college level. Where do all the USA athletes come from during the Olympics? They come from collegiate sports. The Pac-12, when they said they wanted to be the Conference of Olympians, didn't work out. It was an awful decision by Larry, but point besides that, I still want to see us succeed in the Olympics, and that takes a little bit of money. Real quick, here's a little conspiracy, not even conspiracy, but just something I think would be interesting. Scott Satterfield is the head coach at Cincinnati, year 3. We talked about Cincinnati. We'll talk about them. They play Utah this week. They're having one of the better seasons in recent memory for Cincinnati since at least moving to the Big 12. What if Scott Satterfield says he wants to move somewhere? The coaching carousel is going to be crazy. Maybe a little Brian Kelly reunion to Cincinnati. I could see it happening. That could be a good sidestep for him. Hey, let's just go back to somewhere where you're familiar. They're in the Big 12 now, so his resources are higher than when he was even there. Might be interesting. All right, Heisman pitches. This is a muscle episode, so we're 30 minutes in. We're getting to the Heisman pitches. Stick with us. Chisholm's got a lot of great details here for the upcoming slate. Every year we get a couple weeks, 1 or 2, where Chisholm hits like a 10-0 or 11-0. I'm looking at him right now. I can feel it. I can see it. But let's go ahead. Let's get into the Heisman pitches. Either of you guys want to take lead?
I can go ahead and kick it off here. I'll be covering the favorite. That's going to be Fernando Mendoza, quarterback for Indiana, transferred from Cal this season into Cignetti's offense and has hit the ground running pretty much immediately. Cignetti and this Indiana team, they have their mold. They want to bring in that proven veteran quarterback to come in and run the show. And Mendoza has done exactly that. 8-0 on the season, top handful offense in the league. I mean, these guys are really buzzing. But if we're talking Heisman, obviously we're talking a personal. This is a singular trophy. You know what I mean? So while the team success is absolutely a component, and we might get into that in subsequent discussions of exactly the archetype that'll probably end up being the Heisman winner this season compared to the seasons of the last 3 years or so. Mendoza has 1,900 yards on the season, which is good for 28th among his peers. So that's FBS quarterbacks. 72% completion clip. That's 5th in the country. 24 TDs. That leads the country with only 3 interceptions. 4 times this year he's thrown for 3 plus touchdowns in a game, which leads the league. So at an individual level, he is definitely kind of leading, like a leading figure on this Indiana team that is ranked, number 2 in the country right now. So he's humming on all cylinders. And to note that they're 8-0, and their upcoming schedule is Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Purdue. Barring any major double-digit upset in any of those games, probably, Indiana's going to be 12-0 and playing for the Big Ten championship. Now, can you guys remind me, is the conference championship, that's before the Heisman is voted for, correct? I think the Heisman is announced on December 13th, so conference championship would be like a week or two before then, or like a week before then.
Believe
Yep,
so.
that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So going into that, it'd essentially be a matchup with Ohio State. So it's how is he going to play in that game? And at plus 260 value on DraftKings, this is a pretty damn good bet, just knowing that it's essentially going to come down to one game. Does he even have to win it necessarily? I don't know. It would definitely help, but also so long as he just doesn't fall flat on his face, I think he'll be in a pretty good position here. And here's a fun quote that I found that was just reported on Mendoza. Personally, I've deleted all my social media, Mendoza said after Saturday's 56-6 win over UCLA. The only social media that I have on my phone right now is LinkedIn and YouTube videos. With all the hoopla and buzz that's going around college football athletes this day and age, it's really nice to see that we still have a student athlete playing the position. And the student comes first here for Fernando Mendoza. Another couple fun facts on the kid. Originally committed to Yale out of school. So I'm sure if he does make the Heisman ceremony, I'm sure they'll dig into his background a little bit. He'd be the first Cuban-American born player to win the Heisman Trophy. So that's always a fun one. He's from Miami, Florida, the last quarterback to win a Heisman out of Miami, Florida, Lamar Jackson, Broward County. And then just his Heisman moment so far this year, because they kind of have a weak schedule coming up, would definitely be when they went on the road to Eugene, Oregon, beat the Ducks. What was it, 27-20? He had a drive in the fourth quarter to take the lead with 6 minutes left. 75 yards, 12 play, 6.5 minute drive to seal the game for him. And it was a back shoulder toss to his wide receiver as well. So I feel like that would be like the clip that they would present across the screen when he goes up to receive his award. But that is the case, I guess, so far for the leading favorite at plus 260. There's a handful of other guys that are right behind him that I don't know which one of you guys want to go ahead and, I guess, kick it off for us, either Mr. Jones or Chisholm.
Go ahead, Chisholm. I'm going to put a plug in. We should make the playoff award for whoever wins the championship and then gets the subsequent MVP. Like, I want to see that get hyped up more. Not to the level of the Heisman, but it feels like as the playoff now is starting to take up, 3 or 4 games, right, for last year for Ohio State. Like, I want to see that award also maybe get some kind of clout, maybe name it after somebody. It's not named. It's not named, and I believe it's just like the MVP of the game, but it should be looked at as more of like the MVP of the playoffs. So just a separate plug, but when you were talking about kind of conference championship games and when the Heisman's decided, just came to mind. Chisholm?
I'm going to do – so I have 3 that I prepped because I'm the muscle. I'll do the one that's highest on the odds boards to start, and that's Ty Simpson out of Alabama. The best ratio for touchdowns to picks amongst all active quarterbacks at 20-1. He's thrown for just under 2,200 passing yards, putting him at 18th in the FBS. And he has a 74% completion rate, putting him at 4th in the FBS on 9.2 yards per attempt at 7th in the FBS. So this is a guy that's not afraid to air it out. And he's done it effectively and efficiently enough to have a QBR on the year of 81.9, putting him at 13th nationally. I feel like Bama has had an up and down season, let's say. The Florida State game was not exactly where they wanted to start. But I think the way that Simpson has played, even in that game and moving forward, is indicative of what could be done, what should be done for him. If you're a playoff contender, if you're a quarterback at the University of Alabama, I feel like typically either you're going to be in this conversation or Derrick Henry or Mark Ingram or whatever absolute stud skill player you have that you're feeding the ball is going to be in this. Because of the fact that Ty's done a pretty good job of spreading the ball around, he's going to be the guy. Like I said, sluggish September, but they have the opportunity to respond to a few Heisman moments. The first, of course, being against Georgia and beating them 25-31 for 321 and 3 touchdowns, no picks, signature win. Against Ole Miss, being down 10-0 and engineering 4 straight touchdown drives, should get more credit. But fuck it, we ball. And the fact that you watch him control games is one of my favorite things. They still have LSU, Oklahoma, Iron Bowl against Auburn, and then a potential SEC championship berth. Obviously, I feel like A&M is more so in the driver's seat for that. But I think, I mean, these are 4, I guess you could say preseason 4 tough opponents, but like LSU definitely on the downward slide, but still a great team as far as what's on the field. Oklahoma, we'll see. That's at Oklahoma. So keep your head on a swivel there, especially with the next week being at Auburn. I think he's just an efficiency monster. Like if you want to have that conversation about Mendoza, Ty Simpson is right there and then some. And the fact that like he has a few more games to be able to like grown man this shit, if you will, and take control and assume dominance. The fact that he's right behind Mendoza means that you're getting a little bit more juice. He does have a tougher path ahead of him. But if Mendoza stumbles at all, or like a typical Ty Simpson November game occurs, I think that you could see those odds flip between those two pretty much overnight. And I think I'll touch on like Marcel Reed and Diego Pavia after this as well, because I think those are the other 2 guys to keep an eye on. But the bottom line here is that Ty Simpson he's not chasing a Heisman. I think he's more so defaulting into it just by being who everyone thought Nussmeier, Arch Manning, you name it, would be. DJ Lagway, right? A lot of SEC quarterbacks came out and disappointed this year. Ty Simpson's been one of the biggest, if not the biggest, bright spots in that conference.
That
Hell yeah.
And I guess the committee, the Heisman voting committee, has to fill their SEC quarterback quota. So one of those 3 guys that you're going to be talking about will definitely be at the ceremony.
He's been at Bama for 4 years. That helps. You know, he's got the legacy pick. Yeah, Ty Pimpin, I don't think people gave him enough respect last week in the South Carolina game. Like,
definitely not.
Alabama should not have came out of that game with the W. And he was making all the plays when they needed him. He's definitely a stud. And, you know, the guy I'm going to take Julian saying. But you want to know what Julian was saying? They asked him who his Heisman would be on October 29th. So earlier today. And he said Ty Simpson. He's like, you know, that's the humble move. That's the right move. You can't push your own agenda for Heisman unless you're Travis Hunter and you want to look like a dickhead all year. But he said, I think Ty Simpson should be. And if you remember, Sayin enrolled early actually at Alabama before transferring to Ohio State after Nick Saban's retirement. So he never actually played it down or was technically a part of the football team, but he arrived on campus early and started doing some practicing with the team. And he said, you know, Ty was always the guy that hosted him when he went to Bama, and he's a great dude. And that's who his pick would be. But that's what I like. You know, he's a redshirt freshman. He's a humble guy. He's from Carlsbad, California. He's a Cali kid. In his free time, he said he likes to play a little spike ball. That's relatable.
Nice.
Who doesn't want to play a little spike ball out on the quad, you know, take some tarps off or something. But he leads the country in completion percentages at 80%. He doesn't run the ball a lot, but he's always making plays in the pocket, which I think is a super advanced ability at his age. Like the guys that have his level of athleticism in the pocket typically want to take off and run. But he already has that Aaron Rodgers-esque ability to not always run out of the pocket, but just extend the play while keeping his eyes downfield. I think that's what makes him so special. He's thrown for 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. I mean, the stats are going to be there at the end of the year. I would say he maybe isn't elevating his team like Ty Simpson is, but I'd say like similar to Mendoza, he's kind of manning and captaining the ship. His odds are at plus 400 right now. And the last few seasons, we've seen a Jaden Daniels who was, very deserving of that Heisman, but his team wasn't necessarily great. Travis Hunter, the same thing. The year before that, Caleb Williams' USC team wasn't necessarily a contender. I feel like this is a year where without any of these superstar, once in a generation type players and seasons being eligible or being, so far happening, that this is a year where you kind of revert back to maybe starting quarterback that has great stats and the best team. And I think Ohio State is that best team. And if they can run the table and Julian Sayin can continue throwing the ball at 80%, and finish the season around 40 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, I don't see why he can't be the Heisman winner this year. So I got to believe in this kid. I think he is – it's interesting because he is just so much leaps and bounds better than Will Howard in the pocket. But Will Howard just kind of had that big body, big boy senior grit that carried them into the playoffs and throughout the playoffs to win the national championship. So, there's a lot of pressure on this kid's shoulders. I loved this little interview I watched where he was, giving credit to a lot of other guys. It's kind of the humbleness you need when you're a freshman and trying to lead a team with championship aspirations and expectations. You can't make it all about yourself. So, yeah, good kid. Excited to see what he does the rest of the year. He's at plus 400 right now. I don't know if that's the play. I think who the next guy Chisholm's going to highlight is probably the best value. But we're riding with Sayin.
Real quick, I don't know if you talked about it yet, but has he had his Heisman moment yet, or what would that be on his path towards winning it?
Nope, the Heisman moment has not happened yet. He had a game where he was 18 for 19 and threw for 3 touchdowns, and that's just you can't get much of a better game from a quarterback, but they've kind of been just running it up on everybody. And they haven't necessarily needed him in a lot of clutch moments. Like the first game of the year was obviously that Texas game against, at the time, #1 team in the country. And Sayin, it was 14-7, right? Sayin left the game just looking so much better than Arch. There was intangibles there that you could see. While it didn't look like that on the scoreboard, Ohio State was moving the ball. They didn't punch it in a few times. But on the other hand, it was kind of questions that still have yet to been answered about Arch. We're leaving that game. And he's only gotten better since then. I think his Heisman moment, like any Ohio State Heisman, could definitely come on November 29th in the big game against Michigan, no matter what their opponent's ranking is. That's always going to be a big one. Too. In the big house, they're trying to get revenge after Michigan won last year and kind of bullied them a little bit. So I think that moment could come in that game. Otherwise, they got Penn State this weekend, which Penn State's still talented. I don't think the moment comes there. Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, Ohio State. So unless he has a game maybe against UCLA or Rutgers later in the season when this race really tightens up and it's Julian Sayin just threw for 5 touchdowns or Julian Sayin just threw for 6 touchdowns. That could maybe be a Heisman moment when it's just holy shit, this Ohio State team's dominating. But an individual play would have to happen, I think, in that Michigan game.
Or it could be in that Michigan game at the end. And from everything you've shared with us about Julian Sayin, it doesn't sound like this is what anything he would do. Planting a flag, 50-yard line after winning, restoring Ohio State back to glory in their rivalry matchup would be front. That would go triple platinum across Columbus's dorm rooms.
I think he'd be more of a Mac Jones type Heisman winner than a Baker Mayfield.
100% agree, but just saying it would be really cool. Chisholm.
Yeah, 2 other guys that we got to bring up, especially with them being in the SEC. Marcel Reed, first and foremost, holy shit, has this guy really found himself as A&M, College Station, found their guy at quarterback. Thought that his stats would look a little bit different. He actually is coming up on 2,000 passing yards, just over 400 rushing yards. I thought that split would be a little bit more even. Kind of impressed with his ability to get the ball out with his arm as someone that was traditionally viewed as more of a true runner at quarterback. He's really proving himself as a dual threat this year. 32nd in the FBS right now for passing yards. He does have a little bit of a completion rate issue. He's under 70% there. 6 interceptions on the year as well to go with just 17 passing touchdowns, but 7 rushing touchdowns as well, giving him 24 total scores on the year. Listen to this. His last 3 games, you want to talk about making a bid. His last 3 games include 11 total touchdowns for him, only 1 turnover, and an A&M offense averaging 41 points per game. That's a recipe for stock trending upwards. And I think the narrative really does meet what he has been able to do with this team. A lot of different cycles of mediocrity. Here's A&M sitting at 8-0, and Mike Elko's second season back, second season as a head coach. I think it's cool having him with like a Nashville born transferring in from Ole Miss, having the perfect like chaos meets discipline type of environment. I feel like he's literally been molded for this moment, for this season. His last few like Heisman performances, 202 yards passing with 108 yards rushing, 4 total touchdowns in a game last week against LSU at LSU in a night game, literally handing Brian Kelly his punch ticket to get the fuck out of Baton Rouge. Against Arkansas, I know that this game was a little iffy because it was 45-42, but that's still 45 points, and you're looking at a Marcel Reed game where he went 24 for 30, just under 300 yards passing and 3 TDs. It looked like he was just in full control and commanding every single drive. He has a few spots left as well. He's going to be at Florida versus Ole Miss, at Texas to end the season. It's pretty unfortunate because Florida and Texas are both significantly better teams than their I guess records would put them. And Ole Miss, former team, it's a revenge game for him, whatever you want to call it. They'll have them at home, so that'll be the last like shining light of Kyle Field on the year. But he's like an actual true threat, dangerous quarterback. There's not really a system asterisk like you could put for a Julian Sayin. Granted, I love Julian Sayin. He's looked incredible for them, but like we have just, kind of said a few times, there's a lot of guys on that offense to feed. Ever since Reed has taken over, I think they've lost 1 game. Like as far as like him being the actual starter, going back to last year, I think that puts a lot of love on where he is. And so the fact that you could get him around plus 700, that's significant value, but not as much value as the final guy, the guy that we've talked about time and time again for a multitude of reasons, but Diego Pavia deserves some flowers, sitting around like 850, 950. He hasn't done it as much through the air. He's just shy of 1,700 yards, only five interceptions, obviously less than ideal for that little amount of yards, but having 15 touchdowns, over 450 rushing yards with 5 extra rushing touchdowns through just 8 games. That's pretty phenomenal. And his QBR is 82.2, which would put him at 12th in all of college football. So he's extremely efficient, I guess you could say. He has a few more interceptions. Money. I think he's got a few more interceptions, but the facts are this: Vanderbilt is 7-1. They're a top 10 team. This is the highest they've been in like 88 years, I want to say. This is happening purely because of Diego Pavia's grit, his determination, and being able to actually go out and execute. Clark Lee deserves flowers. Clark Lee deserves flowers. I'm talking.
Describing Haynes King.
Haynes King is God. He's Chisholm personified. We will
discuss Haynes
King.
But I will.
He's going to be at Texas this week. He's going to go to Auburn, or host Auburn, host Kentucky, and then at Tennessee. He's got 4 games. And if he blows up in, I would say, 2 of those games, like 4 to 5 touchdown games on national television, and they're able to get Vanderbilt into the SEC title, there's a lot that probably needs to go his way, and, a little bit more production through the air. But I mean, he's at around like that 850, 950 value. And I mean, I don't know if he goes out and shows it.
The good thing for Diego.
I would just say, let's not discount the fact that this guy has gotten the media the podcast and the college football world talking about Vanderbilt football. That in and of itself,
No
is
one's
a
given a
complete
fuck
miracle,
before.
right?
Yeah.
So like that is a different, I guess, archetype than the, quarterback on the most winning team type vibe we were discussing when we were talking about Sane and Mendoza.
He's
and
got the Manziel
Simpson.
stamp of approval. Here's the thing about Diego that's huge for him is that, he's got an April birthday, so he is just lucky. He's going to come in under my self-imposed 25-year-old Heisman rule. Nobody can win the Heisman once they turn 25. It's just a rule of mine, and it should be a rule for everybody in the national media. Luckily, Diego will come in under that threshold. But no, they're having a great season. Haynes King is God. I don't know why we don't have a highlight on him, but read that article. Toughest player in college football. Tough, grit, tenacity, all the above. All right,
Yep.
Chisholm is back and just in time because we're going to start talking about Week 10 preview. I must be in the front row. All right.
I must be in the front row.
I must be in the front row. We got 4 games we're going to highlight this weekend, and then maybe a couple on the muscle side of things. The first one we're going to start with is Penn State University, the Nittany Lions, at Ohio State. Ohio State's 20.5-point favorites, and the total is 43.5. Kind of fascinating, kind of interesting game. We'll see what happens here. Ohio State's been a buzzsaw. Penn State, looked a little bit better last, coming off a bye and looked a little bit better at Kinnick against a team I think we all think is pretty solid in Iowa. So
on paper, when you're looking at this before the season, this was the big middle of the season game for Ohio State. They started with Texas. They played Penn State this upcoming weekend, and then they always have Michigan at the end of the year. But in between there, they kind of got a good poll as far as their conference play, not really playing anyone too great. Illinois is probably their toughest conference opponent that they played, maybe Washington, but not in the same caliber of program as they are. Very disappointing that this game obviously didn't peter out with the whole Penn State implosion, but 20.5, maybe a trap spot, I feel like. I mean, it obviously helps a ton being in the shoe. And I'm not saying I would necessarily bet on Penn State, just given the way that their momentum is going right now. But 20.5 of this game is a fuck ton. If I would have told you that, 2 months ago, you know what I mean? You wouldn't even believe me. So I'm staying away from it. I don't know if you guys have any other thoughts on it other than just pure disappointment for what could have been.
Penn State could be looking at 6 losses in a row. They got Ohio State this week, and then number 2 team in the nation next week at Indiana. Tough draw.
Yep.
I can't. There's too many points. The talent on the field is still there. Like, granted, Drew Aller's not, but that might be in Penn State's favor at this point. Like, there's no James Franklin. There's no Drew Aller. There's nothing stopping you from going out and trying to get this win. If you can't cover 3 scores against the school that you opened up the season against at about 3.5 as a clip,
yeah,
you have no business continuing. Like, just forfeit the rest of the season at that point. Get up, get after it, make something happen, make a little bit of noise, and make it. Make it feel like Ohio State deserves to spend a little bit more time in the film room studying you and trying to give a fuck. When it's tough to believe whether or not you give a fuck about yourself. But I'm still going to ride with Nittany Lion on this one. This is just too many points. My first play will be Penn State plus 20.5. Too many points.
Yeah, on this one, real quick, shout out to Jackson Smolik. Don't know the guy, but Dowling Catholic representing. He was getting some play time at quarterback for Penn State in the Iowa game. Was definitely like a Leo, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood at that game. Whoa, holy shit. Like, point your finger. I think just tapping Texas Pete's shoulder. That guy went to our high school. Look at that.
Yeah.
Always kind of fun. Always kind of fun. But I agree with Chisholm. I think especially off of bye week, there was obviously a lot of emotion with that firing. The Penn State-Iowa game, it looked like they were competitive. They still had the fire. They still had the heart. And now for the last week, the last 4, they're coming off 4 losses. They had a week to just drill into these guys. Like, hey, we got number 1 this week. We got number 2 next week. Why not? Like, we are preseason top 5. We're still a good team. Terry Smith's going to have these boys jumping. It's at the shoe, but just too many points. I'm taking the Nittany Lions as well. All right, let's get to the next game. Where the hell you guys got this pulled up? I was doing too much.
I do. Folks, you're coming to my hometown, Austin, Texas, as the University of Texas Longhorns host a higher ranked, more momentum driven, better quarterback play led Vanderbilt Commodores. Clark Lee and company coming into town, ranked 9th. UT, obviously still ranked 20th. Don't know how they're ranked. Iowa's not here nor there. But I do want to say that this line hasn't really moved from opening preseason. It was at 3.5 preseason, currently at 2.5 in favor of UT being at home for this one. Sharps are more so on the UT side here, but the money pouring in on favor of Vanderbilt. Same thing with the under. The under has gotten significant love and majority of money on that as well. I'm gonna go out ahead and say I believe this is my second, but my first winning triple dipper of the year. I'm all in on the under as well. This is going to be a very slow tempo game. I think it's strength on strength when Vanderbilt has the ball going up against UT's defense. And I think it's weakness on weakness when UT has the ball going up against Vandy. Texas definitely has a size advantage, but I think Vanderbilt's been out coaching and outplaying them damn near every single game that they've played over the course of this year, minus maybe the Oklahoma game. Texas always finds a way to get up for that one, but I'm also on Vandy. I'm taking both the money line and the spread at +2.5. This is a bit of an eye test pick. But as far as like the spread of this game goes, I don't know if Darrell K. Royal is going to be able to convince themselves to get up against Vanderbilt, regardless of what their ranking is. If I'm a UT fan, I'm too depressed at the state of my own team, first and foremost. But second of all, I'm also in disbelief that a Vanderbilt team is coming in with more momentum and more juice. As much as I think the first quarter might be entertaining, like it's insane to me that like Vandy genuinely passes every single test in comparison to UT. It's a bit of a bummer to go against UT in this one. I'm still hoping Bevo has a lot of fun out there. He's a great mascot, Bevo. But for the triple dipper's sake, for the sake of the fans at home, and for the sake of the Pavia clan, I'm going with the Vanderbilt, the under, and Vanderbilt spread to make our triple dipper of the week. Brought to you by my stomach.
And it is worth mentioning, Arch Manning left last weekend's game against Mississippi State in overtime with a concussion. He is, as of Wednesday the 29th, he is still in concussion protocol. Although, you know what we do here. We comb the message boards. OrangeBloods.com reported that he did practice today. So that is a positive step towards it. But as of right now, still in concussion protocol. So throw an asterisk on that game if you're closely watching it.
You know, I don't got a triple dipper, but maybe we'll call it a double pounder. I'm all with Chisholm on the under. You know, Diego's a great player, but a lot of their passing yards and explosive plays have been based off the play action. They need to be able to run the ball to successfully be able to move the ball and have a good offense. And they won last week against Missouri, but if you watch the game, Missouri kind of owned the trenches in that game, and Vandy was never able to get the ball moving on the ground. Diego ended up with a stat line, I think, of like 10 of 20 with 123 yards and an interception. So I like the under a lot there because I do think Texas is going to be able to stop them from running the ball in the trenches. And then I think Vandy's just been on a tough run here. I mean, this LSU team is not anything great, but they went Bama, LSU, Missouri. Now they're on the road at Texas. Texas needs this one. It's kind of out in front of them still, sneakily for the playoffs. And it starts here for them. And I just think that Texas is going to be able to kind of own the trenches with that strong defensive line and prevent, Vandy from really getting the ball going on the ground, which will in turn prevent Diego from doing what he needs to do. I will say in a close game that makes me a little apprehensive. I don't really trust this Texas team by any means. I do trust Diego Pavia and Vanderbilt in a close game, but we're going to take the under and we're going to take the Texas spread. The Arch Manning, I think if he's not playing, I don't think the line moves, honestly. And it can't. When you're Texas, when you're Ohio State, USC, Alabama, all these different, high-level programs, the second guy, I don't think the drop-off will be that big.
Especially if your starter's been just noticeably struggling.
Arch
throughout
hasn't
the
done
season. It's
anything
not like
that
he's been
mind-blowing
lighting
this
it up
year
all
to
over the
begin with. He's
place.
basically,
Yeah.
He's basically, complimentary football at his best. So that's what we're rolling with. We got the under of 45.5, which Chisholm is on, and then sadly we're going to be on the opposite side of him with the Longhorns. UGA at Florida.
Next game coming up,
Florida,
kind of a
Georgia
rivalry
line.
game.
Go for it, Pete.
Oh, I thought my mic was messing up. Yeah, rivalry game here down in the Southeast. UGA at Florida. Florida's 7.5-point home dogs. Totals at 50.5. UGA is coming off a massive bye week. Kirby Smart is 8-1 straight up, coming off of a bye. This line opened up at 9.5 and is all the way down to 7.5 now. So a 2-point swing. I think people are giving too much credit to Florida's win against Texas at home in the Swamp a month ago. They really haven't done anything worthwhile since then. I mean, they beat a Mississippi State team 2 weeks ago, so they're coming off of a bye as well. But not the most impressive stuff for me. And I just really think that UGA is still in a position where this is going to be a coaching masterclass. Get their boys ready for the end of the season, basically, where they have a direct collision course with Haynes King and Georgia Tech, which probably has playoff implications at the end of the year for the first time in our lifetime. But I really like UGA in this position. I'm going to take the 7.5. I'll probably also buy an expensive point down to 6.5 as well, just to hedge it off a little bit. But I'm fairly confident in the Bulldogs this weekend on getting it right. They're still the 5th team in the country. They still have a path towards the SEC championship game if they win out, which is attainable for, a program like this. So I'm going to be taking the Bulldogs minus 7.5 on the road in the Swamp. You guys got anything on this one?
Sadly, this is a stay away. I don't disagree with what you're saying. It's just a smelly line down in the Swamp. My gut just says, let's hammer the Bulldogs, which is why as much as you want to trust your gut when looking at a stranger across from you on the red line, and if they're being a little sus, when it comes to betting lines, trusting your gut too much will get you in trouble. So I'm gonna, do a gut check and stay away.
Hell yeah. Game day
exactly
game?
That.
Speaking of coming to your city, I don't get the 9 a.m.
And we're
game
coming
day.
even harder.
Coming even harder. I don't get the 9 a.m. game day intro music too often anymore. I don't know how often you guys get in at 9 a.m. on a Saturday and punch in the clock, but you guys remember the old theme song, "Coming to Your City"? It was that Big and Rich, I think, too.
OG by Big and Rich. Great
right.
song in and of itself.
I don't know if they're still doing that, but we're coming to your city, aka Salt Lake, essentially. The University of Utah University. Wow. I mean, the Big 12 message boards have to be popping off. I know the Everything app has been begging, asking, and keeping a log of where game day is going all year, and they're finally delivering. The SEC slate just doesn't have enough going on. That Vandy, Texas game just isn't enough, and they're finally going to swallow the red pill and just see what the other side is doing. What is the real world of college football fandom? Cincinnati at Utah. Utah's 10-point favorites, 55.5. That is going to show you what college football is all about. It's a night game at Utah, which is probably worth 3.5, 4 points in itself. I think 10's a lot of points. But what do you guys think about this game? It's going to be, a battle between two teams that are kind of vying for that second slot in the college football or the Big 12 championship game, knowing that BYU is kind of in pole position, Texas Tech's lurking. I mean, the Big 12 is fun.
Big 12's fun, and it's also their first appearance on game day this season, and this is week 10.
Yeah.
So if you're a Big 12, yeah, you're right. The message boards have to be popping off. I don't have too much on this game though, honestly. A 10 p.m. Eastern time kickoff is wild, but obviously makes sense. It's going to be a fun one that I might be needing to chase at the end of the Saturday. Hopefully not, but no.
Either you're going to be chasing or you're going to be pouring it in because you're like, I got some money to play with. That's like the gambler's dilemma. There's just no way. That's how Vegas always wins.
I fucking hate this game. These are two schools I could give less of a shit about for a multitude of reasons. One's named after a city, one's after a state. They're just trying to soak up the sun like the good people of Utah are known to do. Shout out to Cheryl Crow, baby. I couldn't, like, it's a 10-point spread for the College Game Day game. It just doesn't. The Big 12, in all honesty, hasn't really done it for me since maybe week 3 or 4. They had like a few of those really good quarterbacks out there.
What happened to Chisholm, dude? What happened? You used to be a voice for the little guy.
I think the Big 12 is a big guy pretending to be a little guy. I'd rather watch Mountain West football. Like I'd rather watch Sun Belt football. Like at least there's some semblance of like highs and lows. The Big 12 is just a giant clusterfuck of like, we're all pretty much as good as each other. Who wants to win? Like, do you want it? Should I do it? Should I do it? Do you want to do it? Oh, but you're hurt. I'll just do it for you. Like, no one seems like they hate losing in the Big 12. They all just want to win. I feel like that's kind of where the Big 10 gets its rocks. They hate losing, right? Like, wins are great, but if you lose, it's like the world is collapsing in around you. The Big 12 is a conference that is known for just being like, we'll get them next week, and granted, maybe not so much anymore in the playoff era where it looks like only one, maybe two Big 12 teams will ever have a chance of getting in. But tell me I'm wrong. Like, I want to believe and I want to watch Big 12 football. I want to care, but I just can't.
As a man, I can't tell you what you can and can't get up for. So I support you in this take.
As a man, I won't judge you what you can and can't get up for either.
I'm asking you guys.
No kink shaming here.
You're allowed to yuck my yum. I want someone to be like, no, you're going about it all wrong, man.
I'm not going to be that guy.
Make me care about the Big 12 again. They got rid of Gundy, and that was when they got rid of me caring.
Cincinnati is way undervalued here. 10 points is too much. I'm a huge Winningham guy, the Utah head coach, but they have not been winning close games the last 2 years like he's kind of known to do. Maybe that flips the script, but I mean, they lost to Texas Tech this year by 24 points. They lost in the Holy War against BYU. I don't know what I've seen against this team that makes me believe that they're a 10-point favorite against another, highly competitive Big 12 team. Cincinnati's rolling. Sorsby is one of the best quarterbacks in the country that nobody's talking about. They've won 6 straight. They've put up over 30 points, I think, in 7 or 8 straight games. Cincinnati's a good team. And I believe that 10 points is just a little outrageous. I know that Utah at night is known to be a scary place to go play. Cincinnati's on the East Coast, so this game is essentially 11 o'clock start for them. I wonder when they got out there, travel time. That's probably something I should look into.
It's only 2-hour difference. They're on mountain time, aren't they?
That's fair. Thank you. That's huge. That extra hour gives me all I need to say I'm in on Cincy, 10 points. I know it's a little trappy. Like, why the hell is this not underperforming, but lesser performing Utah team a 10-point favorite? Like, that's just funky. But sometimes you got to walk in Yo Trap, take over Yo Trap. Cincinnati, -10 or +10. All right, muscle time. This is where we seed the floor. He's been doing a lot of good research, getting himself prepared. He's been saying for weeks now that this episode is a long time coming. Brother, today's the day. What does Cash Patel say? Like, rest now, brother. I'll see you in Valhalla.
Yeah, nothing. That's one of
nothing weird about that.
Nothing weird about that. Nothing weird to see here. I already ran through a few, but last week we went 3-1. We're 22-27 on the year. Haven't really been doing a great job of actually throwing out or tracking some of the bets that we've given you guys here on the pod. I'm getting back to my old form, getting back into that this week. Virginia Tech covering a double OT last week. Shout out to the boys. Shout out to Airstrike Drones. Michigan State with a backdoor cover, and the Hawks obviously hawked all over. So that was my 3 wins. LSU money line was my 1 loss. Here's what we're looking at this week. I got a few Big 12 plays in here. Not going to spend a lot of time, but we're going to start with some Friday night lights at ACC ball. That's right. North Carolina going on the road to Cuse. Wow. I don't like this bet at all, but it's worth pointing out that North Carolina is playing winning football. They just don't have wins. Syracuse's offense is also on a hard downhill slide post Steve Angeli. I think that the North Carolina defense is going to be able to do enough to be able to give them a win this week, especially with positive value on the board. We're going out and we're taking it because uncomfy bets we need to get back to being uncomfortable with some of the bets that we're throwing. Uncomfortable bets equal discomfort. Discomfort equals growth. That's exactly what we need going into a week where rent is due. I already brought up Vandy at Texas. That is the triple dipper game. We got the under Vandy plus 2.5.
I hammered UNC last week against Virginia. That was just free money. I mean, it was never within a doubt. They were like 21-point underdogs. This UNC team fucking sucks. But at some point, they're going to stop getting blown out by like 30 every game. I think that's, now they're in the process of going from blown out to close games to maybe they'll catch a win.
Yeah. And I think if you want to hedge that as well, taking Gio Lopez under 1.5 touchdowns for the game, I think that's your go-to. I see him getting 1 for sure, probably another rushing. And then I think they're going to have to run the ball the rest of the game after that. Burn clock, do their thing. I already also mentioned Penn State. We're taking them plus 20.5 at Ohio State. We don't really give a shit. The talent's on the field. Let the boys play. My favorite Big 12 team, Texas Tech, is going on the road to Kansas State. They will be in Manhattan, Kansas this week. I think this is a big-time overreaction game from the market after K-State went out and dominated against Rock Chalk last week. It's a rivalry game. It's not normal. It's not real life. You're going to see teams play better or worse in those spots, depending on what they are able to do and getting up for that. If Baron Morton comes back, I don't remember seeing if he's able to come back. I know they were teasing it. Tech never really needed to with how bad of a blowout that they had last week. But that's going to go even harder in the paint. I'm saying guns up, Red Raiders -7 on this one, even though they are on the road. The other Big 12 game that I was looking at
real
is
quick,
Arizona.
Plug K-State. As a K-State guy, it's been documented on this podcast 4 years running. 17 straight against the Jayhawks. You know how fucking absurd that is? 17 straight.
In-state rivalry game. That's absurd.
There are kids next year that will be on the Jayhawks roster that maybe grew up in Lawrence, Kansas, did everything they could to become a Kansas football player. And now they're finally there. And they've never seen them win. That's insane.
Not with their own eyes. Yeah.
So shout out K-State. Keep it rolling. I know that Kansas is a basketball school. I know they have our number generally in basketball, but it just drives me up a wall when Kansas fans try and talk about basketball when fucking 17 straight. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Yeah. My next one, Arizona on the road going to Colorado. That's -4.5 for Arizona. It's just a fade Dion game. I just haven't done that in a while, so wanted to sneak one of those in there. Tennessee.
Coming off a 47-point loss to Utah last week. Colorado's bad, and I still can't believe they beat Iowa State.
Awful. Colorado's dog shit. Tennessee and Oklahoma. This is a good little matchup here. Tennessee coming in, I believe, hosting this game, and they're 3.5-point favorites. We're going to be all over that one. Every Tennessee game so far this year has, for the most part, gone on the over as well. So I'll be riding on that, but just a few snippets as to why we're going, where we're going. First and foremost on the Tennessee -3.5, Oklahoma was able to give Ole Miss quarterback Trinidad Chambliss time to throw this weekend. And because of that, Chambly, he absolutely tore it up. Giving him a clean pocket is a no-go. I think the Tennessee Heupel-led team, they're going to be a little bit more cognizant of that. They got some absolute dogs on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to find ways to get pressure. And I also think it's worth mentioning our Filipino prince, Joey Aguilar, and the Tennessee passing attack, putting up big numbers damn near every single week. You have a volunteer defense on the same side, racking up pressures and sacks. I feel like the Sooners did a terrible job at protecting Mateer. He also just hasn't been the same guy since his original injury. But then at the same time, The Sooners are not capping off drives with points, or at least as many as they should, settling for field goals here and there, like not being able to get conversions as needed to win games like this. And they're struggling on early downs, which is a sign of yikes. As a Iowa Hawkeye fan, I could tell you all about that. But I think with how quickly Tennessee is able to put points on the board and how much pressure they're able to generate on the opposing quarterback, it's just going to be a nightmare game for already beat up Mateer that struggled against that Ole Miss defense. And then as far as the over goes, every single Tennessee game so far, as I said, has gone over this number being 56.5. I don't see that trend changing on Saturday. Joey Aguilar, 21 of 37 for 834 yards and 11 touchdowns on throws over 20 yards. I'll say that one more time for the kids at home. Joey Aguilar is 21 of 37 for 834 yards and 11 touchdowns on throws over 20 yards.
Yeah, I can't believe we didn't have that game as a featured game. Only thing I got about that is, like, I want to take our sweet Filipino Prince Joey, and that's a great stat. He has, like, this Russell Wilson ability of just throwing these moon balls that are unbelievably fun to watch and just, like, end up in the pocket. But he really struggles. You said this, I think you maybe mentioned this too. He really struggles with under pressure. That's like his biggest knock on him right now. If you look at him as a prospect, as a college quarterback, will Tennessee be able to hold up on the O line against OU? That's kind of like what you're betting your decision on. Like, yeah, I think they're going to hold up and he's going to be able to hit some long balls, or is OU going to generate pressure? Otherwise, I'm a little nervous.
I feel good about both of these. Ole Miss last week hit 3 20-plus yard throws in their win over Oklahoma. The Tennessee defense has also, though, worth noting, they've allowed 32 20-plus balls to be thrown against them over the course of this year, which is the 8th most of any team in college football. They're boom or bust, if you will, when it comes to putting pressure on the quarterback. And so Oklahoma needs to find a way to get pressure on Aguilar. If they don't, Vols are going to put up more big numbers. But then the Sooners have to find ways to protect Mateer. And if they do, that means chunk plays are going to be available if he takes his checkdowns and just lets players make plays. I think even if the inverse of all of those things is true, I still see the over hitting. So I feel really, really good about over 56.5. But I also would double down and go ahead and throw on Tennessee 3.5 as well. I think they're just a more put together team right now with a better coach.
Awesome. Are those your picks, Chisholm?
That is all of my picks. That is correct.
Woo!
Humming.
All right. There is one that I think you missed. Do you want me to call it out for you?
Yeah, what one?
We have an armed forces matchup this weekend.
Shit.
Army
Chisholm, the
Air
muscle,
Force.
dude. We were both texting. We were texting on the side. Like, is he gonna mention it?
Where was this in the production? I see 0 notes about this on the doc.
Sometimes
you gotta
sandbag for your boy.
Yeah, you gotta hold the bar. You gotta hold the muscle to the standard. You know, like, can he still hit 2 plates on the bench? Can he still squat 3 plates? Like, what?
Yes.
Like, where's he at?
Does his sixth sense consist of knowing when there's an armed forces matchup on a Saturday? And that is the case we have this weekend. Army, Air Force. Both teams are under 500 on the season. In these games, in an armed forces matchup where both teams are under 500, I got a fun stat for you guys. The under hits at a 74.2% clip. The line this weekend is 48.5, so we are taking under 48.5 for this one.
What is that in the last 2 years, though, Chisholm? I think that number used to be in like the 80%, and like that number is kind of starting to flip a little bit.
Army has really fucked those numbers up when they started airing the ball out more. Or maybe Navy. I'm sorry, Navy really started fucking that up. Regardless, it gets sloppy in the trenches, and
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know if there's enough grit at Air Force. They're too smart. Like, you know, they're good looking, I think, maybe. I feel like that's more of an Army thing.
Mhm.
They love trains.
Top
They all
Top
love
Gun's
trains.
Top Gun's Navy. They're not Air Force.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Hell yeah.
Fact check me, bitch. But
That's correct.
yeah, it's
Just fuck it, yeah.
it's worth calling out. Yeah, I mean, it's not the services game. I wouldn't miss that.
Correct,
However, I
correct.
do believe next
But
week.
it is
I
an arm-
believe next week is next week's Red Bandana game. Correct?
Ooh, dude, did I put it in my calendar? I remember when we were doing the Disgusting Brothers pod, it came up.
Mm-hmm.
Good pod, by the way. Maybe the best one of the season.
I don't know if I'd go that far. It was damn good pod though.
Here's
I
something.
didn't put it in my calendar, but I'll pull it for you.
Did you guys know that Navy, like I was talking to one of our buddies, he went to Navy, that you're required to go to every college football game? Like it's an attendance-based qualification.
not
It's like
know.
school, which is crazy.
Should've gone
But
to
it just
Navy.
means that like when this team sucks, like the whole school feels it. So when Navy's undefeated right now, like everybody's in a better mood because nobody wants to spend their Saturday like getting forced to go. Like you have to show up, you have to check in, and then you don't drink, you sit there and you're silent, you recognize what's happening on the field and you salute. That sucks when your team is like 2-4, 2-5. Like it's just a little extra brutal. So
It is
shout out to the good
also
gentlemen, a part of Navy and their undefeated season so far. That's a big upcoming game for Irishmen later in the year.
I did forget to mention when I was going
Yep.
through my picks, when I did take Texas Tech -7, the inverse is actually the listener lock of the week.
Yes, thank you.
The listener lock of the week, they are taking K-State +7 at home. And this it makes sense from a public eye standpoint. You see this team at home, you see Avery Johnson, you get excited. But I think it's a stinky rat cheese trap line, the likes of which we haven't seen in many, many moons. I pull for the listeners, but I urge other listeners to
Beware.
zig the zag and ride with the muscle, ride with old Chisholm.
Hey, I got an additional pick, Chisholm. I apologize. I didn't mean to cut you short there.
I was done.
Ole Miss plus 13.5 against the Gamecocks at home. That's going to be a blowout. This Gamecocks team, they had their chance to kind of get it rolling against Bama last week. Ole Miss minus 13.5.
Okay. I was
hosting
like,
the Gamecocks. Last week was kind of the Gamecocks week to get it going and get some excitement, get some juice. That's a deflating loss at home. The student section is already surrounding the hedges and ready to storm, and you end up fumbling that game away. Lenore Sellers, unfortunately. That is a Frank Beamer hot seat watch game. At this point, not Frank Beamer, Shane Beamer. At this point, Shane maybe should start looking at that Virginia Tech job, seeing if they have interest in him at all. Because I'm not sure if there's another year in store for him at South Carolina. The coaching carousel could only get more crazy. This is an opportunity to fade a quick coach game. And I think Ole Miss and Lane Kiffin are going to maybe run it up with Chambly.
I will say, I feel like I got a good pulse on all things Gamecocks, just living down right near Columbia. The Gamecocks faithful are not over Beamer yet. I had a conversation with my colleague who's an alum, goes to a couple football games there a year. I wouldn't say he's like on the same caliber of hot seat as like these other coaches that have been booted or really been going around in conversation.
That just goes to show how much personality can make a difference. Like Brian Kelly is so curmudgeon-y and annoying.
Yeah.
Like Shane Beamer has that fiery, like shit-talky aspect to him that the Gamecocks faithful like.
He belongs. Brian Kelly never once belonged in the SEC. Shane Beamer has belonged since the minute that he was born. There's just a difference. It's the level of character. It's why I also speak so poorly about Hugh Freeze. There's not a guy that belongs in the SEC anymore. Like, nor has he ever, in my opinion. But like, there is a specific breed of man that is able to roll with the punches and that is able to take criticism and to create culture simultaneously. If you're not creating culture, you're losing. You're falling behind daily, especially in a conference like the SEC. Beamer is never going to be a guy that lets culture slip. Brian Kelly is a guy that gets rid of culture as soon as he figures out who was rated what coming out of high school and whether or not he's going to get in trouble for playing them.
And Chisholm, to your point, it's not about where you're from that makes you the man you're describing. It's about like the personality traits you have. Like Hugh
Manners
Freeze,
maketh man.
yeah, shout out, great movie, Knightsman. Oxford,
Kingsman.
Mississippi,
Yeah.
Kingsman, yes, Kingsman.
Speaking of Oxford,
Oxford, Mississippi, Hugh Freeze's hometown, not an SEC man. Nick Saban, he's from the Northeast. He's about as SEC as it gets. You know, it doesn't matter where you're from, man if maker man, as Chisholm said.
It's like Jerry Jeff
Kirk
Walker
Ferentz.
was born in New York. Yeah, Kirk, another great example. Big Ten
From, like,
coaches are
Connecticut or
even
something like
more
that?
of a breed.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Big Ten coaches are like, it's like goalies in hockey. Like, you're just weird. There's something wrong with you. SEC is the same, except it's like everyone is kind of like that. The Big Ten is like, oh yeah, there's something off about this guy. Like, he cares about this as much as I do, except he doesn't need to drink while he's doing it. He just loves it. Like, he loves it.
Yes, sir. All right. I got a handful of plays I'll rattle off here. Keep it nice and tight for you guys. If you guys have any commentary, feel free to chime in. We already talked about two armed forces. That is Air Force and Army. But Navy also has a monster matchup this weekend. They're going up to play the Mean Green in Denton, Texas, North Texas. North Texas is 6.5 point home favorites, and the total is at 65.5. I'm going to be riding the Mean Green here. I think Navy's winning streak comes to an end, albeit they've been putting up a ton of points, and so has the Mean Green. So I'll be taking the over 65.5. It is such an enticing line, but you don't want to be on the wrong side of it, cheering against all the points they're going to be scoring here. So I'm going to be on those too. And we're going to ride the over train as well this week on New Mexico at UNLV, Mountain West, shit defense overplay. I wish this were a 10 p.m. kick, but I'm still confident in the total at 61.5. And then the last over the week, my personal favorite, Texas Tech at Kansas State over 52.5. Kansas State has scored over 34 points per game in their last 4 matchups. And then along with that, Texas Tech is the number 4 scoring offense in the entire FBS. So these guys are going to be firing, especially when you're Kansas State, and your key to success when you've been, kind of pulling it back together in the mid part of this season has been just letting the offense fucking rip. So we'll ride there. Along with that, spoke about it a little bit earlier, UGA minus 7.5 on the road in the Swamp. And then a momentum play here. I think I'm going to set a weekly reminder on Saturday morning, or maybe, Thursdays when I actually lock in the picks, just to take Indiana spread until they prove me wrong. They're 21.5 point favorites going on the road in Maryland. Until I'm wrong, I think this is just a smart thing to do because they do not mind running up the score. They want to win by as much as possible, and they've clearly showed that. And then lastly, I'm going to pay a penance for betting against our beloved Haynes King, and I'm going to take a minus 5.5 on the road at NC State. Big slate for, I think, all of us this week, really. I think I have like an 8-play slate. Hopefully put some numbers out for you. I'm 16 and 15 year to date, so have some work. I want to get you guys in the green, and I'm feeling really good about this upcoming weekend.
I'm in the green. We got a couple plays. We're going to stay hot. I mean, there's just nothing.
I mean, come on.
Nothing that's going to stop me from getting hard.
Nothing.
Not even Chisholm.
No.
Safe to say.
Not even me.
Safe to say, running back Jones, the Big 12 does it for him. Big 12 gets him up.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's – yeah. I'm not going to deny that, nor have I ever before. Yeah, Big 12 gets me hard. Big 10 gets me harder. And that's just next week we're going to come even harder. So that's just what Rent Money's all about. That's all I'm about. And we appreciate everybody for listening. 90 minutes this week. We had the muscle. We are ready to go. We had fresh faces, fresh voices. I think this is the most well-rested this crew has been in a few weeks. Most stoked and ready to go. I can tell you that our production meeting almost matched this amount of time just with the banter and the fun behind the scenes. So however much fun you guys are having listening to this, I promise you we're having 5 times more fun. So
Yeah.
But that's all I got to say. Check out the rest of the Pop Off Podcast Network. We got a lot of great stuff. NBA basketball is coming in. It's the sports equinox. I mean, 18 innings. Took me 2 days of rest to get over that. I'm not going to lie. I took a nap before this. I think I was still recovering from the 18-inning game. But holy Cowboys, this is always fun. Chisholm, Pete, get us out of here, please.
Chisholm.
Pete? All right.
I ain't got nothing, man. I'm fired up.
I'll end on this. All right. I've never made it as a wise man, and I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. I am currently tired of living like a blind man, and I'm sick of sight without a sense of feeling. And this is how you remind me to call my bookie and to tell him that I say hi. Tell him that we say hi. God damn it. Peace out. God bless. We'll see you guys next week.